Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. Let's get started. They were put into place aimed at slowing the spread of COVID and saving lives. But after more than 900 days, Governor Inslee announcing today that all COVID-19 emergency orders will expire by the end of October. That means vaccine mandates for healthcare workers and educators will come to an end unless an employer still requires them. However, most state workers will still be required to get the vaccine as a condition of employment. Once these orders expire at the end of October, only 10% of Inslee's emergency orders will remain in place. Inslee says in 2 years, technology has changed and our approach to the virus has changed as well. The nation's first COVID-19 case was identified in Washington back in January of 2020. Under the state's management, Inslee says most state employees will still need to get vaccinated.
And the vaccine still remains a very important thing. And we are able to do this as a manager. We're the management. So this is not done on the emergency order. It's done just because we're the employer. And the employer gets to make decisions in collaboration with the workers that keep them safe.
Governor Inslee and health leaders made it a point that removing these emergency orders does not mean that COVID-19 is no longer a threat in our country or our state. Inslee says Washington is moving into another phase in our pandemic response, which includes rolling back the emergency orders. Well, the rollback of the orders has already sparked conversations on a local level. Since November 2021, the city has lost several employees, including more than 24 firefighters, because of the vaccine mandate. KREM 2's Janelle Finch telling us now how these state-level changes could impact our city. Janelle?
Former local firefighters credit vaccine mandates as being the sole reason they had to leave the job they loved. Now they say there's potential they could go back after Governor Inslee's emergency orders and state of emergency expire in October. And some city leaders say it's about time for a decision long overdue. State vaccine mandates had some healthcare workers, educators, and first responders willing to walk away from their jobs. Former firefighter Tim Archer says it wasn't an easy decision, but when city leaders wouldn't approve some vaccine exemptions and accommodations, he had no choice.
I felt betrayed by the mayor, who the mayor initially said she wanted to work with us. The mayor has said she's against mandates, but mandate is her middle name. It was her mandate that fired us because the governor gave her the authority to retain us.
At the time, Mayor Nadine Woodward said in a statement that the city acted in accordance with the state mandate and the public and department employees was the principal factor considered. Now, with the removal of some of Governor Inslee's final emergency COVID-19 orders, some firefighters are considering a possible return to work.
I would love to go back to it. I had planned on working another 7.5 years.
Which Councilmember Michael Cathcart says is needed for the city.
To have, so many of our firefighters, lost as a result of this mandate really, I think, harmed the city, both financially as well as in our service. And it's just unfortunate that it's taken this long to finally get past this mandate.
Cathcart says the decision is up to the administration, but if he had his way, firefighters would be welcome back.
With the vaccine mandate being lifted, the state of emergency being lifted, let's bring them back. Let's do it right now.
According to the city, Spokane has lost over 24 firefighters to resignation, retirement, and being laid off. To accommodate fewer firefighters, current firefighters had to step up their hours, resulting in an estimated over $7 million worth of overtime pay, which Cathcart says the city is still working to pay off. City spokesperson Brian Coddington shared a statement addressing potential implications for Spokane. He says, quote, "We'll evaluate today's announcement to be sure there's a clear understanding about potential impacts to city operations." And some Spokane organizations are saying right now there aren't any foreseeable changes. Providence Health shared in a statement that says, quote, in part, "No changes to our current policy or vaccination requirements are planned at this time, and we encourage all eligible people to get vaccinated and boosted in order to protect themselves from the worst effects of COVID-19. In the studio, Janelle Finch, KREM 2 News.
Janelle, thank you very much. All right, let's transition to weather right now because last night we saw some pretty smoky conditions and we are seeing a return of that smoke tonight. Let's get outside right now to Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo. And Jeremy, we were just talking a minute ago and our air quality is deteriorating at this hour.
You know, Mark, I stepped outside at about 9:05 just to see what it was like. Step back outside now, crazy different. It is bad out here. Just breathing the air is one of those ones where It's getting there. Unhealthy for some is where we currently sit. And to put this in perspective, we're at a 105 on the AQI. And get this, literally just an hour ago, that 105 was in the 90s. Just an hour before that, it was in the 70s. An hour before that, it was actually in the 40s. So we're watching things deteriorate rather quickly. When it comes to the fires, ongoing fires across the region playing a big role in what we are seeing, feeling, and smelling. Worst air quality in the entire world is in places like Wenatchee, Chelan, and down into the Methow Valley. It is that kind of bad. We're talking AQI high enough that it's not even registering on this scale. And that's all because of our current weather pattern. Wind blowing in out of the north, wind dying down a bit now. That means smoke settles for the night. Tomorrow we'll get a shift in wind direction, but it doesn't arrive until later in the day. I'll walk you through what that means for our air quality coming up in the full forecast.
We'll talk to you then, Jeremy. Thank you very much. The end of an era. Queen Elizabeth II, the longest reigning monarch in British history, has died at the age of 96 after 70 years on the throne.
Through thick and thin, Queen Elizabeth II provided us with the stability and the strength that we needed.
Earlier today, hundreds gathered at Buckingham Palace to mourn her passing. Upon news of her death, mourners could be heard singing "God Save the Queen," which was the royal anthem of the United Kingdom and Commonwealth territories. Now it's "God Save the King," but most people in the UK have never known another monarch. Buckingham Palace said in a statement, quote, "The Queen died peacefully at her summer home in Balmoral Castle in Scotland." The announcement came just 2 days after the Queen's last appearance when she appointed Britain's new Prime Minister, Liz Truss. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll share the legacy the Queen leaves and how the world is remembering her tonight. Meanwhile, with the Queen's passing, Britain has a new monarch. Her son Charles now takes the throne under rules of the British monarchy. Charles became king immediately upon the Queen's death, and with his formal coronation to follow. Next in line after Charles is his son Prince William, followed by his son Prince George, who is now 9 years old. Meanwhile, tonight, 2 people were shot earlier this evening in Uvalde, Texas. That shooting happened at the Uvalde Memorial Park, where the Texas Department of Public Safety says it is suspected to be a gang-related shooting. 4 suspects have since been arrested by police. Officials have not identified the conditions of the victims, but officials told our sister station in San Antonio that 1 patient arrived at the hospital. And now to our night beat with a quick look at today's top stories. The Spokane County Sheriff's Office asking for help identifying a body found in the Spokane River. So take a look. These are depictions of tattoos found on the body, as well as wristbands. One tattoo is of a woman's face, and what deputies are describing as a sombrero-style hat. The other tattoo has writing with some surrounding art. The wristbands say "Honey Kissing," "Cool Cats," and "Soldier of Sobriety." Anyone with any information is urged to call 509-477-3223. The man suspected of setting fire to a Spokane church last year has changed his plea to guilty. That's according to court documents. 23-year-old Rio Maribel pleaded guilty to setting that fire that heavily damaged St. Charles School and its administrative offices back in March of 2021. According to court documents, his change was not part of a plea deal. No one was hurt in that fire, but a priest was pulled to safety from his living quarters by police on the night of the fire. Mirabal will be sentenced coming up in December.
We don't know the condition of the aircraft. It may have broken up, so we don't know whether we're we don't know what kind of wreckage we're looking at here or how widely it might be spread. So it's a challenge when you're talking about water of that depth.
300 feet below the surface. That's how deep investigators believe wreckage could be from the float plane that crashed off the Washington coast last weekend. It's been 4 days now since it happened. None of the victims' bodies have been found, but all 9 passengers and the pilot are presumed dead, including Spokane civil rights activist Sandy Williams and her partner Patricia Hicks. Right now, the NTSB is coordinating with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to try to find that sunken aircraft. And that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just text us the word NIGHT to 509-448-2000, and we'll send them directly to your phone. And that was your KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time. But don't go to bed just yet. After the break, we are sharing more about Queen Elizabeth and the legacy she leaves behind. We'll share her impact on those around the world when we'll come back in just 90 seconds.